I did in my soul. I did in my soul. Said it every room.
Welcome to my video where I am practically giving free advertising from my school, but it's okay, I love it there, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Hello everyone, it's me Brianna, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about my first year at film school. So I'm a freshman, a film production major at Chapman University, Dodge College of Film and Media Arts. I believe Chapman is ranked number 7 according to The Hollywood Reporter, which is cool, but I don't really think that ranks matter and that there's so much more besides the ranks. And I remember I was impressed by Chapman's ranking, but little did I know that there's so much more to it. So yeah, that's why I wanted to make this video. And I still do go to Chapman, but obviously with everything that's going on in this world, we're on Zoom University and online class. So not much is really happening since there's no film sets, and film is a very hands-on major, and at home and through Zoom we don't really get that. So I just wanted to take this time to reflect on my past few months at Chapman, and especially to help those of you who are deciding on committing to Chapman or even applying and doing research, because I remember when I was in that position last year and deciding on which school I wanted to go to, and just film school in general. I really wanted to hear more information and about people's experiences at each school. But that being said, I am only a freshman, which means I still have a full 3 years ahead of me. But this is just my fresh perspective on things and what I've learned these past few months. But yeah, I hope this is helpful. And other things that I just wanted to talk about are that Dodge has 9 different majors, and anything that will be linked or I talk about Dodge, such as majors and applying and resources, will be linked down below, because there's a lot of information that I can't fit into such a small video and that it's better to just read on. So make sure to check out Dodge's website for any further information. So first, I wanted to talk about applying. I could go into so much more detail about my actual experience and any tips that you have in another video, but just the basics of applying is that Chapman is a private school, so you have your Common App, but then since film production and any other film major is a creative major, there's a supplemental application. And keep in mind that I am a film production major, so any information in this video is targeted towards my major and my experience, so it could be different. But for my application, for the creative one, it was a personal statement, basically why you want to go to film, what makes you qualified, a 2-minute non-dialogue film. This was for Chapman. Other film schools are more flexible with the prompt, but at Chapman it's a 2-minute non-dialogue film showing a character making a difficult and dramatic decision, an emphasis question, a creative resume, a creative writing sample, and then a personal letter of recommendation. So just make sure you're staying organized and keeping on top of your applications, especially if you're applying to multiple film schools, because a lot of them do require creative supplements, and that can really add up when all of them are asking for different things. Okay, so first on experience, I wanted to talk about classes, because that is what you're paying for, and those are where your 4 years are at. So just to start off, classes are pretty small at Chapman just because it's a private school, but I think this is one of the benefits of going to Chapman and what makes Chapman a really awesome educational experience. So for me, my biggest lecture this year was 80 students, which at other schools could seem like such a small class, especially since public universities have a lot of students, and at Chapman there's only a few of us, and 80 was really big, and that's really rare to have as a class size, but for that specific one it was just because we watched a movie every single week. But on average it's normally about 20 students in a class, and then my smallest class this year was about 12 to 15 of us, which was screenwriting, and that one was very personal because you're giving feedback, and that's how a lot of the classes are structured. It's a really personal experience and you're each contributing and giving feedback to each other. I realized I forgot to talk about homework, which is very important because that is where you're graded on. So for film, it's very project-based, and I only had a few classes where I was writing essays. So for the most part, I actually enjoy the assignments that I'm given just because it's creative stuff like writing scripts or shooting films. That being said, if you do have group projects, make sure to choose your group partners wisely just because you need to have reliable people and you don't want to be pulling up their slack. So yeah, pretty chill and pretty easy. And next is professors. So personally for me, I've only had good experiences with my professors. In general, I think there's a pretty good rep with the Chapman professors, especially since a lot of them are in the industry. And I've heard a lot of students get connections and internships through the professors, which is pretty cool, but I haven't crossed that bridge yet. For my professors, since they work in the industry, it's really nice to hear all their stories, and sometimes they even casually talk about the film sets they've been on and mention really big films and really big directors that they're friends with, which is pretty crazy. But with the professors and classes themselves in general, they teach you the subject, but what I think is really important is since they do have that experience in the industry, they really teach you that yes, it's important to build your skills, but what's more important is being a nice person and creating those connections and being charismatic to other people so that, you know, other people like you in the future and you're setting a good rep for yourself. So besides classes and professors, class structure is really important also. So for Chapman, it's a mix of your major, minor, and GE courses. So before we moved in, they actually sent us a list of 5 classes that we're supposed to take just to steer us in the right direction. And yeah, that's how it is for the 4 years. You really have to create your own 4-year plan, and it's up to you to stay on top of it, meet with advisors, ask upperclassmen how to schedule your 4-year plan. And for me, it's been pretty easy just because I've been on top of it. Well, for now, I've been on top of it, and I've asked upperclassmen to help me with formatting my schedule and just fitting everything in. And there's so many classes that I want to take, and that it was really important for me to create a 4-year plan to fit all of those in the time span of 4 years. So for the actual courses that you're learning, like I said before, it's a mix of your major, minor, and GE courses. But for the film school, it's history classes, fundamental courses, and then once you hit your junior year, you're going in towards your emphasis courses. So for film production, by the end of your sophomore year, you declare an emphasis of either sound design, production design, directing, editing, and cinematography. So once you're in your junior and senior year, then you're taking classes in that specific field of your choice. But before then, you're taking all your credentials in what everyone has to take as a film production major. Also being said, with all those classes, I wanted to mention that there's a course catalog on Chapman's website. And if you want to know what classes you're going to take within the 4 years, then you can look on that. And that's really helpful because it tells everything from your major and what classes you're supposed to take. So now moving on to sets, which is my favorite part about this school year so far, and also something that makes Chapman stand out, because I know that some other universities and some film schools don't even allow their film students to be on set, which is pretty crazy because that's where I've learned everything and that's where you're really gaining connections. And Chapman allows their students to direct at least 3 films if you're a directing emphasis. And a lot of the time everyone's just working together, and this is really where the community bond has been for Chapman. I also forgot to mention in the video that at Chapman we hold the rights to our films after college. This is something that you should look into to every single film school that you want to go to, because if you don't hold the rights to your films, your university does after college, which means that all your hard work doesn't pay off and you don't get to use it in the future because it's entitled to them. So for the sets themselves, they're 12-hour days, and there's 3 different types of film sets, like I said. Your IP is a 12-hour day, and AP is a junior level film, and that's a whole weekend, 3 days. And then a thesis is a senior level film, and that takes place on 2 weekends, so 6 days. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun being on set. Everyone has a different role, and before coming to film school, I didn't even know that there was this many roles and this many people on a film set, but that's just me being a beginner. But yeah, there is a lot of hard work that goes into it. Also, these sets are something that brings us all together as film students because we're struggling through these 12 hours, we have schoolwork, we have no social life if you're working constantly. But in the end, it's really fun, and I'm glad that I've had the experience to go on set. And really, just a lot of upperclassmen are looking for help, and all you have to do if you're a freshman or if you're looking to just help anywhere, most of the time people are going to be looking for help. So it's pretty much easy to jump on these sets, but as long as you're a hard worker and as long as you try to go on sets and put yourself out there, then it'll be worth it, and you're really making the most of your experience because you're gaining these connections and getting all these opportunities. So moving on to resources, this is something that's also really important because it is important for us film students to have the necessary resources to make our films. So there is 3 buildings at Dodge. There is Marionette Studios, which is the main building. That's where most of the classrooms are. And we also have a few audition rooms there, a makeup studio, and then we have various sound stages where if you choose to build your own set and you want to film there, then you can put your set on the soundstage and film your senior thesis on the stage. And then also on Marionette, there's editing suites. We have computer labs that are open all the time as long as you rent them out. And yeah, so that's Marionette. Now moving on to DMAC, that is mainly the animation one. I really don't know a lot about DMAC in itself yet, but pretty cool when I walked into it. And the last building is CSW. This is where the prop house is. And I've heard, I don't know because I haven't done my research myself, but I've heard from other film students that film schools don't really take production design into consideration, and at Chapman, production design is a big deal, which is why we have a prop house. So when you go in there, there's couches, there's furniture. It's stuff that you can use for your film and to set design your film. But it's really cool that we have that because that's what happens in the real world with production design, is that you have prop houses that you have to go to find furniture and props to put in the films. Also at CSW, we have a scenic shop which is open to students to build their sets and also paint them. So that's really cool. So yeah, just know that there's a lot of resources at Dodge, and we do have a lot of equipment, and I know that students are always asking for more resources, but within my experience, it's been pretty amazing to know that we have all those things available for use. Now, finally moving on to connections, which is why most people go to film school, is for the connections, because obviously you don't have to go to film school to be successful in the industry, but personally for me, this is why I chose to go to film school, was to meet other people and to eventually gain that networking experience for the future. And at Chapman itself, I personally think that there's a lot of connections and resources that you can use to get internships and to get secure jobs in the future. And really, that starts off with student connections themselves. A lot of students have internships, and I myself have met someone this year who has acted as my mentor, and she helped me get an internship. So that just shows that students are willing to help one another at Chapman. And also, we do have a building that focuses on internships and jobs to help you get those. I haven't used those resources myself, but I've heard that they're really helpful. And we do have a Facebook page where people post internship opportunities. If they're an intern themselves and their bosses are looking for interns, then that's another way that Chapman helps. But just in general, the connections that you do get from film school are all up to you. As long as you're networking, being a good person, and meeting new people, then that's really where it comes into play. And finally, my experience with other film students themselves. And overall, I've had a pretty good experience with everyone. It's really nice meeting people who have the same mindset and who are all creative. At times it was intimidating for sure, but naturally there is competition within film school, just because that's just the competitive nature of human beings. You're gonna find that anywhere. But for the most part, a lot of people are willing to be nice and willing to be a team player. In my experience, a lot of seniors have just mentored me and taught me what I need to learn in order to succeed in the field and in my major. But there has been a few people who are pretty stuck up and who don't really care about getting those connections, and you can really tell because of their ego. But really, those people aren't going to get anywhere if you're not focusing on your connections and not being a team player, especially since film is such a team environment. So for me, the people and the connections have overall been good. I try not to let those competitive, egotistic people ruin my experience, and they really haven't. But the positive and creative people that I met are what make it worth it and have made this first year very memorable. So that's all I have to say today. Those were just a few of the important things that I wanted to share about Dodge and how I feel like it stands out. I hope you enjoyed watching and hearing about my experience. Overall, it's been an amazing few months, and I can't wait to go back to school and learn more about the film industry and be able to work on set and stuff. But in the meantime, I hope all of you are staying safe. Make sure to like, comment any video ideas or questions that you might have about Chapman itself and Dodge, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time I make a video.